Yesterday was filled with inner conflict around insecurity, around not liking myself, around self doubt, self judgment. On Sunday, I came across a couple of YouTube teachings, and a couple of them were from a couple Indian gurus, and they were both talking about purpose, and both of them were saying that purpose is really not something that people should focus on, because to have a purpose is constraining. To say, oh, my purpose is to be a dad, a spiritual aspirant, a teacher, fill in the blank, right? Is so limiting versus I'm a human who's on an adventure of being human. When you're going to do whatever that means and whatever I come across in the moment. And so very, very much the adventurer archetype that I've talked about before. And I see that, and there's a lot of, I think, beauty in that. And then I saw two other videos. One of them was from a Shaolin monk, and one of them was from Jordan Peterson. And they were saying pretty much the opposite. They were just like, yeah, no, having purpose gives you direction. It helps you grow. It helps you be of value. It helps you learn about yourself. And so choose something and stick to it, and let that be the path that you learn and grow through. I was like, yeah, that makes sense, and there's value to that. But it just brought me to a point where I was just like, shut the fuck up. Everyone, just shut up. Myself included, just shut up. Get out. I'm done. It was just this moment of, it just so beautifully represented how there are polarities and how both of them have value, and how finding a coherence between the two inside of me has been very difficult. Even though at times I can be in one of those very well, or be in the other one as well, or even kind of recognize both, but just like the deeper I go, the more at odds those are inside of myself. There's more a part of myself that refuses the other side. And so that was causing a lot of conflict. There's a lot of self-doubt, a lot of and just didn't like myself a lot yesterday. And that led me to masturbating, which poured fuel on the fire. There was another, like, man, I broke the space again. I didn't even try to resist it that much. The other time I really fought it. I fought it for days and days and days. This time I was just like, fuck it, whatever. Which is one of the slippery slopes for me. That's typically how it goes, is like the first time I really fight, and the second time I just, I fight a little bit less. And the third time I'm like, well, I already did the other couple times. And then before I know it, it's just like, oh yeah, it's back in my routine again. And what's interesting about it is the act itself, I don't have a problem with. I actually don't. Like, it's cool. It's great. It's the fact that I can't not do it that gets to me. Because that makes me feel out of control, which triggers me. And then that triggers the not enoughness and the self-judgment and the doubt. And it becomes this internal narrative of like, man, if you can't even not do that, like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to survive this space? How are you going to make it? How are you going to do something that is potentially incredibly difficult if you can't just not do that? Which I think there's some merit in. And then I also think that that's just one of the primary examples of why the game of presence is so powerful and so worth getting good at. Because it's just like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not engaging that mind that wants to pull me in and tell me I'm not enough. But I didn't do that very well yesterday. At least the first part of yesterday. Last night was a different story. Well, I made some food, which was helpful. Then I went on a drive and I went and parked at the beach and I looked out over the beach after sunset and it was got some cold air on my face and that was helpful. That was balancing. And I came back and decided to read. Been reading Illusions. And I meditated some more. And so the second half, at least the last third of yesterday was good. And I'm just recognizing that I need a better strategy in place when the desire hits. And so I've come up with, number one, I need a little bit more coping. I need to allow for more coping to happen. And so I'm going to allow myself to read whenever I want now. Like before it was, I don't want to activate the mind too much. Now it's reading is officially a part of this space now. I haven't been doing any art, even though I've done some music. And I was like, why am I not doing any art? So I'm going to draw some more. I used to draw as a kid. It was pretty good. But just things that I need when it's time to check out. And then, if turning towards those things doesn't work very well, just some system changes, maybe a cold shower, exercising, getting out of the space, just going out in nature. It feels doable. I don't know, for anyone who's ever danced with something that you consider an addiction, maybe you'll relate to this, but there's this interesting kind of, like right now, if I think about it, there's just like, oh yeah, no, I could easily not do it. Because I'm not in it right now. But when I'm in it, such a different story. Because not only does my willpower wane, but my interest in stopping it also stops. It's like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to stop this. Why would I want to stop this? That's stupid. And that's what makes it most difficult. A lot of addicts, it's like, oh man, I want to stop. But then when they're in the moment, it's like, well, why didn't you reach out to your sponsor? Why didn't you reach out to family or friends or support? Because I didn't want to. Like, when the craving hits, it's not like I'm crying, putting the needle in my arm type of thing. It's like, I want it in my arm. And that often has to do with, not dealing with pain or whatever. It's coping from reality. So yeah, that's where I was yesterday. But the end of yesterday was much better. I woke up in a great mood today. Snuggled with Zen. Got to go get him some cat medicine. He's got sneezes. Meditated. Already started on my exercise. So I feel good, which often happens after masturbation. There's a release, a balance. All right.